Yeah. Check. Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario on stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio. Once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on UCY.TV. Thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome to the show. Monday night. February 23rd, I'm here in the studio, the Anti-Media headquarters here in San Diego with Cassius Methel, awesome journalist with the Anti-Media here visiting us in San Diego. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, man. Just thinking about DARPA and some of the less discussed things that are gold mines of info pertaining to what's going to happen in the future. There's some weird headlines today,
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on. We're gonna get into this DARPA topic in depth in a little bit. Before we go on, though, I just want to make sure everyone that's listening knows how to find us and knows how to find our website. We're theantimedia.org, and you can catch us every day of the week online. Obviously, hold on, we're having a bit of a technical difficulty here. Let me see if we can get our volume up. Give us a few seconds here and let's see if we can get this fixed. Looks like we're also joined on the line now by with our co-host DB Schwartz. How you doing tonight, man?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Oh yeah, I'm doing cold. I'm doing real cold.
Cold. So is it pretty cold up there where you're at right now, or what?
I think this is actually like a mild winter, and it's about 20 degrees outside. My hands are frozen from driving home. So, yeah, I'm definitely getting a rude awakening, but I guess everybody else is laughing at my expense.
Acapulco weather. Oh, yeah.
So we're also joined on the line by Manny out of LA. How you doing tonight, Manny?
Hey, what's up, Nick? And stuff like that. I just wish that Saturday's event would have brought in some more people for the Malcolm, 50th anniversary and stuff like that. But we still did what we needed to do, with the few people that did show up and stuff like that. And met some new people and stuff like that. And telling more people, it gives me a chance to tell more people about your show and stuff like that. So. Also, I heard about them wanting to attack that biggest mall down there where D.D. Schwartz is. What's that about, D.D. Schwartz?
Yeah, well, they've been, there was a study that came out that showed approximately 500 of the mosques in the U.S. out of 1,600 were on a watch list, and basically what happened was they picked up chatter supposedly from this Al-Shabaab group, which is a Somalian, Islamic militant group. And, it's a justified cause they have because really they've been invaded for over 100 years. I mean, Italy basically took them over. So the people there are just tired of the oppression, but the average citizen there is really acclimated. I've met a lot of Somalis over here, and they're very Americanized, and they're not trying to make waves or blow up buildings or anything. And, they found out that report was unsubstantiated. So they're going to do it, man. They're going to do it here. They're going to do it on the West Coast, East Coast, New Orleans, try to box us in. I mean, it's really obvious.
Yeah, and it's to me it's all blowback, right? It's a lot of this, these militant groups are tired of having their resources raided for the longest time. There was that article I saw it last week about how ISIS is supposedly in Libya. Now we know that video was basically faked. I mean, those guys in that video were like 8 feet tall. The guys that were chopping people's heads off. That video was all staged. Is there ISIS in Libya right now? Probably. Libya is a failed state. We overthrew their government, which was previously pretty much one of the most stable in Africa. It had the highest standard of living. We overthrew them. We blew them up. Yeah, Gaddafi. And now, the thing that I found ironic was that there was a headline going around last week that was saying, oh my God, ISIS is in Libya. Now they're talking about invading Italy. And then I was just thinking, and I was like, you know what? How long was Italy invading Libya? I mean, that goes back to the Roman days. Back during the Roman Empire, they were in control of Libya, and then back during World War II, they went into Libya, so a lot of this stuff is just reactionary from imperialism, and so like you were saying, DB, I don't blame these people for getting radicalized. It's unfortunate that it's happening, and a lot of people are going to end up dying because of it. But in the end, we have to look in the mirror and think about, especially being most of us being Americans, looking at the policy that America has done that is creating a lot of this blowback from all these terror groups.
And Nick, let's be logical for a minute here. I mean, if you're a terrorist organization and you are, you're looking to create policy change or at least get some payback against people, why would you ever go after random civilians that have nothing to do with it? You're not going to change anything or affect anything. This is why if there was something that was a high value target that they were going to hit, something that hit it, the government doing that to them, not us, the people, then I understand it. Otherwise, it's just complete fear mongering.
Agreed. I mean, when you see people do things that have no purpose or no intention, and people say, yeah, they're just cutting people's heads off for no reason, that's a red flag right there. No one does anything without some kind of intention or purpose. And when things accidentally happen as a consequence of things that were seemingly done for no reason, then it's a very good chance those things were done intentfully. And that's how you have to look at all foreign policy things. Things are done with intention and strategy. Nothing happens accidentally.
Yeah, man, and we got this big story right now that's kind of tied in with what's going on with ISIS, and now of course they're saying ISIS is going to go out and blow up a bunch of malls. I don't believe that. I don't really go to the mall anyway, but I'm not afraid to go to the mall. I don't think anyone's going to blow me up. I'm more worried about getting pulled over by a cop on my way to the mall and getting harassed by them. So I don't think anyone should be staying home and not going out because they think some Muslim extremist is going to blow them out of the water. That's just a bunch of fear mongering, and that's what they want you to think.
Go out and concealed carry and then see how comfortable Muslim terrorists or any terrorists, period, will be. That's the whole thing, man. We're not a soft target as a country, and we're not going to get hit like they say unless we hit ourselves, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the other thing for me that's really sad, and we're seeing it start to happen around the country and all over Europe as well, is that these so-called Islamic extremists, and by any means, ISIS is not Muslim, they are a perversion, just like the KKK is a perversion of Christianity, and just like in many ways, mainstream Christianity has become a perversion of what it used to be. It's really creating blowback on this side of the pond, as far as all this fear mongering goes, and people starting to think all Muslim people are bad, or think that they're all terrorists and stuff, and that could be, that's the most ignorant way of thinking about anything. That's just as bad as, that's basically racism, and we all know racism is an ideology of the simple mind.
And Nick, who's going to help us root them out? Who's going to help us identify these cells? What are we going to alienate and antagonize an entire group of people that who are the only people really we have to help us stop before it starts, any of this stuff?
Yeah, man. And then there was that guy last week or 2 weeks ago that killed those 3 Muslim people, and they haven't figured out whether it was a hate crime yet or whatever. That supposedly it happened over a parking spot, which sounds kind of suspicious. But I have some Muslim friends that have been complaining about a lot of prejudice, a lot of hate being spewed in their direction, and a lot of it is from this Fox News, Bill O'Reilly audience, and all that stuff. And we're going to get into a little bit of Bill O'Reilly news too in a little while.
And what's funny about that Chapel Hill killer, Nick? What they found out about him, his name was Craig Hicks, was he was basically the biggest liberal fan and atheist you can imagine, and no media coverage.
Yeah, and on the left, the supposed left, you got people like Bill Mayer and stuff like that are also Islamophobic. So this hatred isn't limited to the right wing or to the Republican or Tea Party or whatever.
Anyone that watches corporate news could be this guy. Exactly,
and there was also an Islamic center down in Houston that got set fire. So yeah, this ISIS group is really inflaming tensions. It's giving Islam a bad name. The majority of Islamic people, the majority of Muslims, 99% of them are very peaceful. They're just like you and me. They want to be able to practice freedom, practice religious freedom, freedom of speech, and all that stuff. But it's groups like ISIS that give institutionalized religions a bad name. I don't really technically endorse institutionalized religions, but at the same time, it would be completely naive to just write them all off and say all Christians are bad, all Muslims are bad. That's a horrible idea. We should be judging people based on their individual character. We shouldn't be making generalizations about people. That's just a very simplistic way of thinking.
Generalizations.
Yeah, it's a simple way of thinking, and it's not something that we want to do here with the anti-media and with our youthful audience. We know that people that are young are more privy to this propaganda. They're not going to buy into this fear-mongering and stuff like that, at least hopefully not. But that's what we're trying to prevent here, and that's really what we want to put out there for everybody. If anybody wants to join the call and join this conversation, feel free to call in. The number is 718-717-8296. So feel free. We got a pretty open show. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. We're going to go through some of these news stories that you'll be able to find on the antimedia.org. The first one I have here is one that I wrote, and I'm pretty happy to say it's one of my most viral articles that I've done in a pretty long time. And I basically went after Bill O'Reilly with everything I had. And I'm sure plenty of you have read it. We got like 100,000 shares on it, which was nice. And basically it's about Bill O'Reilly and his Brian Williams problem. The original story broke coming from Mother Jones, where basically they were saying Bill O'Reilly was making up war stories just like Brian Williams was. And it kind of got under his skin if you look at his replies, and he's trying to respond. Fox is trying to contain this thing, but it went pretty viral. And when we posted our article yesterday, we posted our article yesterday morning, and within like an hour, it was like a trending topic on Facebook. And then it was just a pile-on factor, everybody jumping on board to talk shit about Bill O'Reilly. And I'm all for it. I mean, this guy, not only is he just a right-wing shill, which is fine. I mean, of course there's going to be right-wing and left-wing shills. But he's not just a liar. He is also a womanizer, and we have a very in-depth article on that. at the Anti-Media about his sexual harassment case. If you just Google or go to our site and just search Bill O'Reilly on our site, and you'll be able to see the story. It's by Lou Calgiovanni, and he wrote it back in the end of last year. But it's very, very in-depth, and O'Reilly was sued for $60 million by a former co-worker of his because he was womanizing, sexually harassing her, using his influence to try to force her to do sexual things. And he ended up settling it in a civil case. So, not only is he a liar, but he's also a horrible person, and I hope that he suffers. I hope that he gets fired. I hope that he gets,
He deserves it, and it's coming to him.
Yeah, I hope they look into these charges, and there's probably a lot of other women that have been sexually harassed by him as well, and so I'm glad that he's finally getting his karma.
To me, it seems like it would be a strategic move for Fox News to pick another establishment mouthpiece and ditch him and replace him with someone else at this point. I could see that happening. And I think the most polarizing part about this story is the post from a person named Eric John Engberg. He posted a long Facebook post about how Bill O'Reilly, he basically confirmed that Bill O'Reilly didn't do what he claimed to do, which was be in this situation covering a war story that got him in danger. He claimed he sounded really heroic and everything. This Facebook post collaborated that a lot, and I saw an article about Bill O'Reilly trying to reply to this, and they failed to mention this Facebook post. But this is one of the most polarizing pieces of evidence, so
this Facebook post in question here is basically it's a first-hand account of a guy that used to work with Bill O'Reilly, and he was there with him down in Argentina when this war was going on between the UK and Argentina over the Falkland Islands. And this is where Bill O'Reilly was making these exaggerated claims that he was basically in the heart of the battle, and that he did all these heroic things and all this stuff. And it turns out that, what Mother Jones was basically accusing him of making up these stories, it turns out it was true, because this other guy that was working with him at the time has come out a few days after that story went viral, and he confirmed that, that O'Reilly was completely full of shit. And it's not that surprising. I think everyone that's kind of aware of what's going on with the corporate media probably already knows that O'Reilly was full of shit. They probably already knew that Brian Williams was full of shit. They know everybody on Fox and MSNBC and CNN are full of shit. And what do you expect? All these guys basically do is read scripts, and they read whatever they're told to read. And then they add their own little commentary in the background, and it just seems like their little commentary many times happens to be fabricated or just exaggerated claims, And so to me, it's I don't think it's just Brian Williams or Bill O'Reilly that are the problem here. There's a much higher arcing overall issue with these quote-unquote news anchors that are supposedly supposed to be journalists just running their mouths and making shit up and not having any accountability. And that's the other thing about the media, the corporate media, is that there's basically zero accountability. NBC, they probably knew that he was making that story up for a long time, and they probably just said, it makes good ratings, just run with it.
Yeah.
Let's hope you don't get caught. Who would have thought that some veteran that was actually there would have been like, hey, dude, you're lying. But thanks to the power of the internet, that kind of stuff can start happening. And this
absolutely.
Facebook post about Bill O'Reilly, it just happened to be some guy that was a former employee. You think if he called one of these news companies, they'd run with this? I don't think so, because it makes the whole industry look bad. So if it weren't for the internet, none of this stuff would have maybe would have never come out.
Yeah, that's called conscience.
You'll be happy to know that he's going to be on tour in San Jose next month there, Nick.
He'll be on tour?
O'Reilly's going to be in San Jose, you said?
San Jose on March 7th, it looks like.
Oh, man, if
I think
I was a little closer, I'd go and try to crash the party.
How could he possibly tour without someone giving him hell of shit?
You got to be the one to start this tour off for him all hard, man. That's his first tour date.
We should try to get some protesters out there to at least give them a hard time.
Yeah, let's go
Just-
protest.
Just plant the audience, man. Get at least somebody. Get 20 people to go actually buy a ticket, get in the audience, and try to just hassle them.
Yeah, just go up and check him with some knowledge. So I wrote this article today about it's going to be published later. It's an article about DARPA and how they're spending millions on technology that is designed to decipher human speech from background noise, so that when they actually take audio from you when you don't know it, when maybe you have your cell phone in your pocket like a smartphone and they turn the microphone on, which happens a lot or a little, we don't really know.
Well, all these apps, almost all the apps have permissions. Remember, we were watching that video Andrew Demitter from Teen Take put out with he interviewed John McAfee.
Yeah, that was a cool
And
video.
John McAfee was saying at least half of the apps that people use, they have access to turn on your apps. You know?
So if they want to, they will. We just don't really know how much they
and then,
do.
the other thing that we heard about was last week how they're hacking all those SIM cards. You remember we put out an article on that? That was your article, right?
Yeah.
We put out an article on that where the NSA, along with the GCHQ, which is the British version of the NSA, they were hacking into the biggest SIM card manufacturer in the world. They make 2 billion SIM cards a year, and they were able to somehow hack into their system and get all the access codes or whatever. And that basically gave them the capability to hack into almost any phone in the world.
No matter what the service provider was.
So Apple iPhones are literally the absolute worst phone you can have, since you can't remove the battery, and they've hacked the SIM card and actually have the backdoor from corporate.
So this article that will be published later tonight or tomorrow, it's DARPA is spending millions of dollars finishing this phase of this technology that allows them to translate human speech from audio recorded with surveillance devices like that have a lot of background noise. So you could say something to someone with music blaring, and the original audio recording would have no audible speech, but they're spending millions just to be able to decipher speech from enormous background noise. So I've come to find that there's actually unlimited material to write about DARPA, and everyone kind of just overlooks it. So I'm going to be covering a lot of DARPA-related stuff now. And in case you didn't know, DARPA was a project associated with the Pentagon that is involved with a lot of high technology kind of experiments. They deal with robots, drones, remotely controlled weapons of war. They actually created the first version of the internet, if you didn't know. It was called the ARPANET. They since changed their name from ARPA to DARPA to add defense to their name, to give them some kind of, I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to be covering some more DARPA.
Were they not developed out of the fruits of Operation Paperclip?
I'm not sure if Operation Paperclip people from Germany were actually involved in that, but I think I actually might have heard something about that. I should look into it.
I believe the Flying Bell was so particularly amazing to us that that's kind of what started it up, and how we were able to kind of convince people for a long time that we have aliens working with us or something, because we have flying saucers.
Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy reports coming out today and yesterday. I don't know if you saw them, about some kind of UFO that landed in Canada and stuff. I didn't look into it. Of course, a lot of these UFO reports, it's so hard to tell which ones are like legitimately unexplained and which ones are just people making shit up.
And it could be, so a lot of people talk about what's been dubbed Operation Bluebeam, the possibility of the government, creating UFOs and trying to stage an alien invasion. I have no idea what the probability of that would be, but if they're psychopathic, like they've demonstrated with their war, maybe they will do that.
That's always been the theory of why they spray chemtrails in a grid pattern, because they're establishing a holographic kind of screen up there permanently. That's going to go along with the big theater show that's going to scare the shit out of people and kill a couple million, and then we'll do whatever they want.
I've never heard that theory. That's interesting.
The thing to me is like these government programs, DARPA, whatever it is, NSA. Think about Snowden's like leaks; they were all years old. So it's kind of like, the stuff we know about is the stuff that they actually put out press releases on DARPA. That's the stuff that they're willing to let us like see.
Yeah,
And
but we don't see.
These guys are working on a lot of other things that are, who knows what. And that's what I was kind of thinking. A lot of these UFO sightings, a lot of them are probably just top secret, weapons or, aircraft or whatever that they're just testing out, and they just, don't want to say anything about it. Sometimes they may actually just push out these fake UFO stories just to distract people from, trying to look more into what they're building. And, who knows? But, the DARPA thing, it's like every day, right? It's like every day there's
Every
a news
single
feed
day.
coming out about DARPA. And, I know someone that used to work kind of near DARPA. And, there's scary stuff going on. And then even in that interview that we were talking about with Teen Take, with John McAfee, he was talking about when he first started working in the tech field, where he worked worked at the secret Air Force installation in Birmingham, Alabama, and he was saying that like even to this day he can't even talk about the stuff that he worked on. Like he won't talk about it, and this guy's like about transparency and privacy and stuff like that, but he won't talk about what he worked on. So there's some stuff that could be going on with DARPA. It's important, I think. We can't cover it all, on the anti-media.
There's so much of it.
We literally can't cover it all. So that's why it's important that people take their own time and look into this stuff, because there's no way to catch it all, and there's some crazy things going on out there. So I guess we got kind of a tech show going on, because that's a lot of what we've been covering today. There's a anonymous hacker that is, he was charged with 44 felonies. He was able to get it reduced down, but basically he did his time in prison, which I think he was able to get it down to like a year or something, or 6 months or something like that. And but basically what he's saying is that he was accused of trying to hack into a local police department website down in Texas. And the FBI grabbed him, and they were basically like, hey, we're going to charge you with this crime. And it was just like one felony case. And then they were like, but, we'll drop that as long as you, turn over and like work for the FBI. And basically he refused, and then that's when they started piling up these charges on him. And eventually it amounted to like 44 felonies. So like this is a total case of blackmail by the FBI. And
It's a lot of felonies.
yeah, and it kind of goes to show you how valuable they think these hacker type of people are. And I know we have a lot of readers that are hackers and stuff like that. We won't talk about who they are, obviously, but it's kind of a dynamic that we need to pay attention to, because there's a good chance of a lot of people that have those kind of skills that the FBI is first going to try to recruit, and then if you refuse to recruit, then they're going to blackmail you, and then if you end up like this guy did, you end up serving some prison time. And that's the scary thing. So
What do they blackmail these guys with, honestly, Nick? What, too much porn site visits or what?
What was that?
What can they? I mean, honestly, the average person that I know that hacks is a pretty straight edge, and what are they going to blackmail you with?
Basically just prison time, or whatever else they can get you on.
For hacking.
Yeah, you know how these guys work.
Yeah.
FBI, I mean, that's J. Edgar Hoover's brainchild. They're pretty good at it. But this guy came out and he basically blew the whistle on what went down, and I think people should be pretty, upset about this. It's kind of a really scary prospect. We know that it's been going on a lot, though. Just like all those people that have been set up for these supposed terror attacks where the FBI
Yeah.
basically even hatches the plan. They supply them with
God,
the
so many times.
explosives, and they supply them with the plans and the vehicles and all that stuff. It's kind of like that same thing, but except this is even scarier because now they're like totally blackmailing people to try to get them to do things. You know.
I think you mentioned one interesting thing. There's a lot of people that have skills that could be utilized for bettering society and doing productive things that make society and the world a better place. But unfortunately, with unlimited funding and the persuasion of money, organizations like DARPA, government agencies, are able to recruit the most skilled minds at things like technology and all that, and they're able to coerce them with money and that to make them join their side. And I think it's important to wake those people up and let them understand that our future is more important than money and something that immediately fades. If you work for DARPA and you work for them and destroy our future, we're not going to have anything. So, there's a lot of great minds that are being coerced into doing that right now. And I think they should wake up. They're probably reading stuff like news articles like this right now.
Yeah, I mean, we have to do what we can, I think, to make an atmosphere where it's easier for people to blow the whistle or to defect from this machine.
Absolutely.
Whatever we want to call it, like whatever Edward Snowden did.
An underground kind of standard for that and a culture of awareness.
Yeah, I mean, we need to encourage it as much as we can, and we got to figure out what's the most effective way of doing it. But the more whistleblowers that can come forward, the more things can change quickly.
The more people just put effort into things, and yeah.
That movie, Citizen 4, about Snowden, apparently won like some Oscar last night or whatever.
Great movie.
Something, I don't know what the award's called, but yeah, it won, and that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty big.
It definitely gave it legitimacy if you watch it. I mean,
Yeah.
the guys are totally having natural conversations. So, yeah, it kind of made me, at first I thought maybe he was a plant within a plant within a plant, but maybe he's actually legitimate from watching that. You never can tell.
Yeah, man, I think Snowden's definitely legit. Of course, there's always questions about how the information was handled and stuff, but I think it is pretty legit. That it gives the topic like more visibility, and it allows for more people to talk about it, and the debate can continue. I think one of the hosts said Edward Snowden was a traitor or something. I don't know if it was a joke or whatever. I didn't watch it, but I read an article about Snowden responding to it. They also had a Ask Me Anything today on Reddit. A Reddit AMA.
I heard about that.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Snowden was like right there, like replying to people and stuff.
Wow.
So I mean, it was pretty cool. And people need to think more about this. This NSA dragnet. As we mentioned, the SIM cards now. And
Billions of SIM cards, the largest SIM card provider in the world. So that doesn't require any kind of, stuff from cell phone companies. Just hack right into the SIM card. That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
That's really
And-
more effort.
The other thing they're using this hacking for is not just domestic surveillance, right? They're using it to wage cyber war.
Oh, speaking on that note, I saw a headline today about increasing cyber warfare between Iran and America. It's pretty, expected, but I think we should anticipate that in the future and think of, cyber warfare between Iran and America. It's coming,
Yeah, and that's actually what I was going to talk about is,
America.
what's going on with this cyber war with Iran. And we already know Ukraine is popping off, Syria is popping off, Iraq is popping off. Libya, all these places are pretty much in big trouble. But in the meantime, while the U.S. is dealing with all of that, we're also waging a cyber war against Iran and Russia and other places like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone's heard of the Stuxnet virus that was made by the U.S. and Israeli intelligence. and it was planted. It was infected in the Iranian centrifuges for their nuclear centrifuges, and it sabotaged like a large part of their nuclear operations with this. All it was a computer virus.
Yeah.
And there was evidence that one of the viruses that was planted in all those hard drives that we found out about last week that the NSA was hacking into was a very similar virus to the Stuxnet. So that's how they know that that's basically how they know where it came from. So this war against Iran, it's getting kind of, I don't know, it's getting kind of heated. And there is just the article that came out today about how Netanyahu was basically lying when he was on TV and he had that bomb and he was like drawing the red line or whatever.
Yeah, that stupid simple diagram.
There was leaked cables that came out. The first I heard about them was today. I'm pretty sure they came out today. These leaked cables basically were saying that all the intelligence that the Mossad had on the Iranian nuclear program was completely different than what Netanyahu was saying when he was drawing that bomb, drawing the red line. Like he was completely lying when he did that. So that I think is pretty big information. And then, the other thing that we have here, this is on the anti-media, we posted it earlier today, is about how the U.S. has been accused of planning fake nuclear evidence in Iran in order to get so that when the nuclear inspectors went, they would find this stuff and say, oh, this is, nuclear equipment, nuclear plans. Yeah, and it was basically a planting of evidence.
Was this done during the physical planning of getting Stuxnet into those plants?
I think this came a little bit after, and what they were trying to do is feed them like fake. They were feeding them like fake plans to build like equipment that wouldn't actually work, and then they were going to use those plans and that equipment as like evidence of them trying to build nuclear, nuclear devices. So it's kind of funny if you look at it from like a scalable level. It's like going on with the FBI, and it's also going on with the NSA and the cyber war that we have going on, and then also with this foreign policy with Iran, how we're using these subversive tactics over and over to achieve these political goals. I mean, we talk about terrorism all the time. I mean, in my opinion, that pretty much is also terrorism. Using these subversive ways to achieve these goals that are political and, about resources. That's terrorism, man, and we can't stand for that. I mean,
exact same thing.
All of us moderate, all of us people that are moderates that don't believe in blowing up other countries need to condemn blowing up other countries. Like they always say, people that are Muslim need to condemn terrorism as if they don't already. People that just don't believe in blowing people up need to condemn blowing people up. I mean, seriously. Sorry, DB, I didn't mean to cut you off. What's up?
No, that's okay. I mean, it's hard when we're mobile, so to speak. But no, I was just going to say, man, how dare you threaten the economy? Not supporting the machine. I mean, that's all we got. If people wonder what would happen if we didn't do the actions we do on a daily basis, we'd plunge into the third world. We have no manufacturing base. We're totally screwed if we're not at war. And so that's going to be the choice given to us again, is a giant global conflict to pull us on top of the world again, or okay, if not, then we're going to plunge into this depression. That's the only two options they're presenting. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like a continued effort to stop the dollar from collapsing and from currency from devaluing by acquiring resources to give the money value, as far as my perception goes. As far as I know.
Do people understand what us winning would actually mean if we actually fought another world war? Do people not understand that would mean billions of people died?
Yeah, massive amounts of people in concentrated places being blown up.
I mean, imagine our Air Force being just run amok. We had the full machine going again, and everyone had to go work in a factory. Imagine what 300 million people with our tech would do to the other 6.7 billion. That's what they want.
I mean, to me, just the thought of having, enough weapons existing, on this earth, to ruin the whole earth. It's just so insane.
Potential is incomprehensible. I mean, eventually we're going to have to put effort into literally stopping the U.S. government and their programs and agencies, DARPA, the NSA, from doing what they're doing. I mean, when's it going to stop? What's going to stop this? How is it going to curb? When's the end? There's no end in sight. Like, what can we do about this? That's the real question right now.
And
we personally, take our time to tell people what's happening, but someone has to do something, or,
How far ahead, in your honest opinion, even if you have to throw a stupid number out there, how far ahead are they as far as years and technology for the military than we have or what we know of?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I'd say minimum 10 years, maximum, I don't know, 50, unless they have some crazy tech that they found somewhere else that they aren't telling us about, which I wouldn't put out of the equation. But I think if we're talking about DARPA and stuff like that, yeah, they're probably 5 to 10 years ahead of what they actually tell us,
I think that you can't even measure it in years anymore, because at this point our technology is advancing from what I see as an exponential, in some ways, it's advancing exponentially. So, measuring it in years, that's difficult. It's getting faster and faster, from what I can see.
I've heard anywhere from 100 to 1,000, meaning that they're already colonizing and shit and already have bases other places. So I have no idea. I know that I just saw a video of multiple angles of soldiers running around in invisibility cloaks.
That is insane.
Yeah, I think wasn't it DARPA that was talking about those?
It must have been DARPA.
It was 1 or 2 years ago, I think, that they were basically saying, yeah, we got these invisibility cloaks now, and that was
I heard
2 years
about
ago that came out on the news.
DARPA
guns that can see through walls and also bend bullets.
Yeah, man. There's all these different.
Well, I definitely know something's going on because being here in San Diego, I've seen a lot of, bombing explosions practice at Camp Pendleton. I know something's up going on and stuff like that, but the public is so, I blame the public for a lot of stuff, obviously. The public in San Diego right now, before I leave back to my home next week, the public is so caught up in saving the Chargers and all this BS and what's going on at the Oscars and the Grammys and all this stuff. It's not even funny and stuff like that, So I'm kind of forward-looking to this Saturday where we're going to go remember the 43 at the Mexican Consul and, kind of hit the, basically not to forget the 43 and not to forget Malcolm. Here we didn't have enough people for the Malcolm X 50 anniversary, but yet people are showing up to the stadiums because they're mad because the Chargers are leaving town. What are our priorities is what I want to know,
Yeah, man, it's kind of fun.
Hey, I have just a real quick anecdote from up here. I met a lady at a bar, and we actually got to talking about politics eventually after enough drinks. And she said, you know what? I think the South's known for a long time the government was fucked up because of the Civil War. And now us up in the Midwest are seeing it because they gutted the whole economy and everybody here is back to substandard living conditions. So basically, we're just waiting for the coasts to do something so we can get these assholes thrown out. And that's been the consensus going on for everybody I've met and talked to because they're happy to talk politics here, ironically enough.
The Rust Belt, yeah.
Hey, man, you got all that snow. What else are you going to talk about?
Well, dude, people are pissed off. They went from a middle class, I can buy a house and a boat and have a summer home, to I'm in an apartment with 4 kids.
Yep. That's how it is here. Here in San Diego firsthand, it's a lot like that. Really high cost of living. It's one of the most expensive places. And
so the poverty has to hit the coasts, Nick. When the poverty hits the coasts, that's when the action is going to take place.
Wow, that's an interesting statement. The Rust Belt of the United States, anywhere between Chicago to Detroit to Flint, Michigan to uh, Camden, New Jersey. Yeah, that belt of area over there is receiving this economic decline really hard. St. Louis, and yeah, that's an interesting thought, man. It hitting the coast. Yeah, that's going to be a turning point for sure.
I mean, SoCal is going to be a nightmare, but we can head it off by doing what me and you always come around to, Nick, and that's always what? Getting off the grid.
Absolutely, 100% agree. I think that it's difficult to gauge the difficulty of this and what problems we might face at this point, but I think it would be wise for us to save every bit of money that we have right now and save everything that we're working for and maybe think about starting a community in the future of conscious people where we can grow our own food and, take matters into our own hands and be self-sufficient and get back to those skills that people had for thousands of years until this unprecedented time today when we don't have the ability to grow food or the skills that we would have had back then.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's do
it's
Detroit.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people I think that are thinking that same thing, and
Well, they have water.
yeah, and there's like communes popping up. There's little places that are being made in like other countries popping up, where people are going out and they're just like, people are realizing, okay, well, there's something wrong with the system. Something's flawed with it. I need to try a new way of doing things. And people are doing that already. And I
Needs to
think a lot more
continue.
people are going to be thinking about that in the
Me
future
too.
because it's just getting the federal government has just become so detached from reality, and I mean, look at their approval numbers. Congress is like rated like lower than cockroaches, and like
I saw Obama had a 9% approval rating among the military. Like, how do people think that's going to persist?
Yeah, I
in the
mean,
military. You said,
Yeah, that came out. Stars and Stripes, man, 9% approval. I mean,
that's a pretty low approval rating. Yeah, I think this is a natural next step. I mean, everyone now realizes that there's a huge problem. In the last 3 years, it's been exponential, people waking up to all of this. And we all kind of have this mentality right now. What do we actually do about this, about everything that's going on? The police brutality, the lack of prosperity, the fact that we have to get groceries at food stores, like Walmart and all that stuff. We all feel this, and I think the logical next step would be to empower ourselves as much as possible and put real effort into putting power back into our own hands and doing just doing what we think would help, acting.
yeah,
getting your necessities taken care of in house. Everybody,
Absolutely.
like a micro community, would be so awesome if we could co-op all the stuff we needed, like a little farm and everything. Even if it's a group of just 20 people, just knowing you're coming home from work every day, that all the cash you're gonna make, you just bank. I mean, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. And there would be no shortage of technology out there. We could customize it in every possible way. It doesn't have to be like Amish living. We could have computers and everything like
it
that.
doesn't have to be primitive.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be primitive. It could be totally, the way we want it. We just have to put effort into it, buy some land collectively, start a community, and maybe even at some point voluntarily, decide to disregard the law of government finally. Maybe that some community will reach a critical mass to where they can say, I'm not paying taxes. I'm not going to regard the law of government around me. We're our own community. Maybe I'd like to see that happen. I'd like to see a paradigm of communities and getting back to self-sufficiency.
Yeah, one of the things I was talking about recently with I think it was with Derek when we had him on the show a while back was about these movements they don't always have to be a huge group of thousands of people all at one place at one time, right? Like you can have just as great an effect if you just reach 1,000 people randomly.
Yeah.
Not all in the same place at the same time. They're affected in their personal lives, and then they change the way they do things personally. And I think
That's the first step.
yeah, and there's a great example I think that's really playing out right now, which is the demise of the fast food industry, and the downfall of a lot of the like McDonald's. And
Profits down.
McDonald's profit was down like crazy in 2014. It was one of their worst years ever. And
The CEO resigned.
yeah, their CEO stepped down, and they're trying to rebrand, and they even talk about maybe starting to use like organic ingredients and stuff. But they're going through a lot of trouble, and I think that's kind of a sign of, these messages of eating healthy, and it can over time it can really have effects. Sooner or later, we might see McDonald's be gone. Like, I mean, the brand, like the McDonald's brand, could disappear, but of course, there's that corporation behind it is still there. It's going to have a different food company that's going to replace it.
Yeah, it's a niche that will be filled.
Yeah, it's a niche that's always going to get filled. But that one brand, we could see it go completely bankrupt and go away, just because people realize that they shouldn't be eating that food.
Yeah, I think that the awareness that has been brought around in the internet and the dynamic that things have been going recently, it's creating ripples that at first I think were much less visible, but over time, as we see things like McDonald's CEO stepping down and we see the statistical evidence and we look around us and see people changing their minds, the ripples have an incredible effect. They're just going to keep building, and it's just going to keep building. It's the natural way it's going.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me too. And so I think it's important to like go take every angle with this activism and with
Objectivity.
this way of undermining or defunding the state apparatus that's oppressing everybody. It doesn't have to be this giant wave. It can just be. It can just start out as a few seeds being planted that eventually grow out and turn into more.
I think
And, that can definitely be an option. At least one angle of going about creating these ideas that we're trying to create is not solely focusing on these big giant actions, but going more in a decentralized way, a more like unplanned way. I think a more organic way of doing things.
Nick, we need a template for change, brother.
I think one essential part is simple objectivity and being willing to admit when someone is wrong. There's no room for ego or an inflated ego and all this. We all have to recognize that we only know a tiny fraction of what reality actually is, and we should always be wary of the fact that there's always more to learn. And yeah, we can't be stuck with one perception and not be willing to change our minds. I think we're doing a pretty good job of that personally, but I think it's good to remind people that
Yeah, I think we're making progress, and that's why it can be frustrating to not see things happen overnight. But if people do something in their own personal lives, it could happen overnight. And people can make personal changes overnight.
Exactly.
Something as simple as not going to McDonald's and instead going to the deli and getting something from there, it can completely destroy a whole company, a horrible company. That's been brainwashing kids to want to eat their junk food for years. This isn't just some simple innocent company. It's just an entrepreneur. No, these guys brainwash people, children to eat their crap.
Commercials, TV,
But
it's dying.
We've got to also break up the very beginning of the chain, because you have something like Cisco and U.S. Foods about to merge, and they're going to control 70% of basically all food production and transport. You're talking about a total monopoly, and it won't matter if you go to a mom and pop, because they're going to get from the same supplier, and they're squeezing out all the small farms and stuff. So it's got to be ripped down from the corporate structure. You got to say things like food, things like housing and clothing, and all the things we have to live. and live, comfortably. Those things can't be corporatized and privatized and monopolized because they're paramount to the common good, man. It's just got to come down to that. We've got to take those things back as basics, as actual rights, because we're at post scarcity. We don't have to toil for things anymore. Robots and automation can do all this stuff. They're just holding it back, and they're just keeping it for themselves, and we can't allow that anymore.
Yeah, man, I agree with you on, like, the basics should be the as a society, we should be taking care of the basics for the most basic people that need it, like the people that are in unfortunate situations, people that have sicknesses, kids that can't take care of themselves, people that are abused or oppressed. We should be taking care of all those problems as a society and not trying to go this easy way out, which unfortunately turns out to be the hard way out in the end, by having government try to do it all for us, right? Because they always mess it up, and then they can take it hostage. And then, like when Obama was trying to say that people weren't going to get their Social Security checks because of the government shutdown and all this crap, this is the kind of stuff that they do. They politicize it, and they use it to keep this polarizing situation going on. That's why we just got to start taking those basics back and saying, you know what, we're not going to have the government involved in our housing. We're not going to have them involved in our food. We're not going to have them involved in our water, in our power, in our internet. And that's one of the things too, is this whole net neutrality debate, and it's such a confusing topic because on the surface, kind of like for me, it's like a Trojan horse. It's kind of like Obamacare, where on the surface, it's like, oh, awesome, everybody's going to be guaranteed internet and this, that, and the other. But then when it comes down to it and you look a little bit closer at it, there are a lot of Obamacare type of tendencies in this net neutrality legislation or topic, whatever you want to call it, that we have to be aware of, and I think we should be fighting for internet rights and stuff like that, but we have to be very careful about how we what we choose to support and not support, because there could be conflict of interest and things like that.
I think it's all about independent infrastructure, and that's what it's all about. It's about being irrelevant from the system. It's about people voluntarily not empowering corporations and immoral people. It's about collectively coming to an understanding that you must vote with your currency, with your efforts, and you can't buy things from people that do immoral things like corporations, and you have to have independent infrastructure. And I think the solution is becoming irrelevant from everything that doesn't benefit us.
You kind of made me think about something there. People always say vote with your dollar or make your vote count. I think it's better now to just vote with our lives.
Absolutely.
You just live your life the way that in a way you live your life opposed to this system, and when enough people do that, then it's over. It's through, and it's that simple. It doesn't have to be a huge thing.
Critical mass. Yeah,
it just has to be critical mass, and it can happen using a variety of different techniques, and all of these techniques help each other. And that's I think what we're trying to go for.
Just make reality your paradigm, so that throws people off that are watching corporate news. And once they hear you tell the truth enough times, a million times the lie ain't going to work anymore, even on them.
Yeah, man. And that's what we got to do. Keep exposing these liars like Bill O'Reilly and Brian Williams. Even though it's superficial, the bigger lies are what we're really worried about, man. These lies that get us into places like Iraq and Libya. And we end up, our tax dollars go to killing off a bunch of people in Palestine and stuff. These are the lies that we need to really be aware of. Yeah, it's good to catch them in their bullshit lies, so that at least the people that are on the superficial surface of people that actually watch this news will actually say, oh, well, maybe they're not always telling the truth like I thought they would be. Then again, most Americans, according to like recent polling, do distrust the media. So maybe it's not as bad as we thought it was, but still, this is what we got to do. Keep sharing the info. Keep tuning into our show. Make sure you guys share our show. Check back 5 days a week. And catch you on Wednesday. Scott, Sam Gibson.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.